Good morning. Welcome to Hollywood to Houston. I am your host, Sandra Del Cid. I am so excited this morning. I have an awesome, talented, impressive guest. I have Michelle Mower here today. Thank you for coming.
Of course.
She's got her own company based out of Los Angeles, Imagination Worldwide. Her work has been featured in Lifetime, movies such as The Preacher's Daughter, Desperate Housewife. She's also directed The Preacher's Mistress and The Preacher's Son. Michelle has a bachelor's degree from the University of Houston in radio, television, and film. She's also been an associate producer for the morning news on Houston NBC. What an impressive profile, Michelle. I am so
Thank you.
honored to have you here
Of
today.
course.
Wow, it's so impressive. You've been a writer, a producer, a director.
Mhm.
Tell us about your work that has been featured on Lifetime, your movies.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you asked. My first feature film that I did for Lifetime was The Preacher's Daughter, and you mentioned that my work was on Desperate Housewives. I actually did not work on Desperate Housewives. However, the lead actress of one of the lead actresses of Desperate Housewives, Andrea Bowen, was in my first movie, The Preacher's Daughter. So that's the connection with Desperate Housewives, and it was an amazing experience to be able to create something like that where you know write a screenplay based it was very loosely inspired by my own experiences as a preacher's daughter. It was a story that I felt like I could tell that had never really been told from the perspective of an actual preacher's daughter. And so I wrote the screenplay. The story itself is fictional, but a lot of the some of the elements of the story are very much inspired by my own experiences. And so Andrea read the screenplay, really loved it, came to Houston. We filmed it here. This would have been in the fall of 2010.
Wow.
So it's been a while, and not really knowing what was going to happen with the film. I had hoped that we would be able to get into a film festival and get a distribution deal. I mean, we just had no idea at that point. We were running purely on hopes and dreams, and passion for storytelling. And I just got really lucky that I was able to put together a really great crew here in Houston, who sort of came together to support a local independent filmmaker, and we were able to get a fantastic cast comprised of some talent from LA, such as Andrea and Adam uh, Mayfield, who is also from Houston, but he grew up in the Houston area, but he now lives in Los Angeles, and he was at the time on a soap opera. And so, but then the rest of the cast was largely Houstonians or Texans, and so I was
Nice.
really excited to be able to bring this level of a project to our city, and it certainly paid off. I mean, we completed. It took us about a year to complete the film, and then we started submitting it to film festivals. But before we had a chance to get accepted to any film festivals, we got an offer from Lifetime Television that was just too good to be
Wow.
to
It's amazing.
too good
Yeah.
to to pass up. And so they acquired the film. It premiered on Lifetime Movie Network in August of 2012, and ended up garnering the highest rating of any movie on the network for the entire year.
Wow.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And
Wow.
it sort of launched this whole Preacher franchise on Lifetime. So they came back to me, and Lifetime came back to me and said, we want another Preacher movie. So then we did the second film that we also shot here in Houston, The Preacher's Mistress. And again, we combination of LA talent with Houston talent. So we're really excited about that. And then the third and final film in the series we did was The Preacher's Sin, which unfortunately I had to film in Canada.
Oh,
So
wow. That was hard.
yeah, exactly. I had to live in Canada for a couple of months, and it's hard to be away from your family for that long. But it was worth it, and it was a really wonderful experience going up and working with a new crew, and it was just always nice to meet new talented people and work with them. But I missed home, and so we're continuing to look for projects that we can bring back here to Houston, and that was my experience.
Wow, thank you. Thank you
Of
for
course.
bringing jobs to Houston. That's amazing. You must have had a lot of nice views in Canada with all the mountains and.
Well, we weren't in that part of Canada, unfortunately. I was in Ottawa. Ottawa is actually very similar to Houston in many, many ways. It's the capital it's the capital to begin with, so there's a lot of political, it's a very politically driven city, but it's also very business driven. So you drive through downtown and you feel like you're in downtown Houston in many ways. In fact, there's a statue in Canada that we have the same exact statue here in Houston over at Herman Park. And my first day when I was driving through Ottawa, we go past the statue. I'm like,
Oh, you miss home.
it's the same exact one I pass by in Houston all the time. So it was kind of like my little, like, okay, this isn't going to be so bad. You're going to be okay, Michelle. You can do this. You can be away from home for 2 months.
I do love Houston. Every time I go away, it's like I have to go back. I
Yeah,
have to go back. When
it
I'm
is.
in Europe, it's like there's just no place like home.
That is true.
But you live in Houston, but you have a company based out of Los Angeles. That's
Correct.
Imagination Worldwide. That must be a lot of traveling. Tell us about your
Quite a
company.
bit, yes, quite a bit of traveling. Yeah, as worked for a number of years, as I mentioned, as a writer, producer, director, and I love what I do. I continue doing those things. But in 2016, I had the opportunity to acquire a film sales company. So basically, what is that? Okay, so basically, the company takes completed motion pictures and they take it to the various film markets, such as American Film Market, Cannes, uh, European Film Market (EFM), which is in February, and the film arts. There's several film markets around the world that the company attends, selling films, largely to foreign buyers, and and so for me, it was an opportunity to have a little bit more control over how my films, but also the films that we acquire, how they're released, because I felt like there was two problems within the industry. The first problem being there's lack of female representation in Hollywood. There's especially women behind the camera. And so as a woman who is a director, I know that there's probably a lot of directing jobs that I just was not considered for simply because I'm a woman.
Hmm.
And it may have been a conscious decision on the part of the people who were hiring, but but if you look at the statistics, I mean, it's appalling that of the 250 highest grossing movies of 2016, 4% were directed by women, and so statistics, can't talk today, demonstrate that there's a huge gender disparity in Hollywood. And so I felt like if I was going to help affect change in the industry, then I needed to own the company as a woman.
Yes,
And
smart,
yeah,
smart
and
move.
I think women in general Hollywood needs more women owning companies.
Yes.
And so I bought the the sales company. We added distribution, which was domestic distribution, which was something they had not done previously. And this past year we distributed two independent feature films that were directed by women. The first was titled Paint It Black, which was directed by actress Amber Tamlin. It was her directorial debut, and stars Alia Shawkat from Search Party, Janet McTeer, who's Academy Award nominated actress, Alfred Molina, who everybody knows and loves. And so we took on this film. We gave it a theatrical release. It's been on VOD, and it's about to premiere on Netflix on February the 1st. So check that out on
Congratulations.
Netflix, February
Awesome.
1st. Do a little plug
Definitely.
there. The second film that we released, also we're extremely proud of. We picked this one up out of South by Southwest this past year. It was the Audience Award winner, and it's called The Light of the Moon, directed by Jessica M. Thompson, who is phenomenal director. Stars Stephanie Beatrice. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yes, I met her. I
Yeah.
went to the red
Oh,
carpet.
that's right. Yeah,
She's
we
such
did it.
an awesome person.
Yeah,
Yes.
she's amazing. So Stephanie is is the star of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the TV series,
Yes.
and incredible comedic actress. But in this film, she sort of takes a more dramatic turn as a woman who is struggling with the immediate aftermath and long-term repercussions of being raped. And it's a very heavy topic, but Jessica did an incredible job of keeping the story moving and not so heavy. There's some humor in it even, and it's a very poignant film, and the kind of film that not just women need to see, but also men, because in the story, it's a love story essentially. The
Yes.
story is about a woman who's had this experience and how she's trying to deal with it in her personal relationships in her life, especially with her boyfriend, her live-in boyfriend, and her live-in boyfriend, of course, is there from the very beginning and knows from the very beginning what happened to her, and he's trying his hardest to do everything right, and that actually bugs her. She's like, "Stop doing everything right. You're I'm not a victim. Don't stop treating me like a victim. I just want us to keep going like we've always been good, like continue the relationship like we've always had it." But it took her a while to figure out that her life has changed, and that this is something that has happened to her, and she has to deal with that, right? And so I think some really wonderful performances from both Stephanie and Michael Saul David, and many others. Conrad Ricamora from How to Get Away with Murder is in the film. Kathy Curtin, who is some of you may recognize as Dustin's mom on Stranger Things 2, is a phenomenal actress. She was also on Orange is the New Black and several other Netflix absolutely loves her, so she's in tons of Netflix shows. So yeah, we're really proud of this film. We released the film theatrically in November, and UN Women came on as a partner in that release, and we were able to sell out 4 screenings in New York, and we sold a screening in LA, and you were the one here in Houston. So it's getting out there, and it's now on iTunes and Vimeo and all of the various digital platforms, and it will be on Amazon at the end of February, I believe on February 23rd.
Yes. It was
So
amazing acting. I enjoyed that movie. It was
yeah,
very touching.
well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did. He was so sweet. I was like, he's like the perfect boyfriend,
I
you know.
know, I know.
And how can she be upset? He's trying so hard, you know.
Yep. But that's the thing. I mean, that's the point of the story, is you can't really tell women how to deal
Yeah.
with something like
You
that.
know, you go through shock
Yeah,
first, and then you got to
exactly.
deal with.
You have to let them you have to let them deal with it in their own way and in their own time. And yes, there are many resources out there for women, but they have to figure out how to navigate those resources kind of in their own way, and which resources to go to
For help. Yeah.
for help and which ones not to. And I think that that's the bottom line, is the point. It's not like he couldn't fix her.
Yeah.
It wasn't his job to fix her. It was his job to be an ally while she figured out how to move forward,
Yeah.
and to be there for her no matter what, and to listen. I mean, that's the key. Was a lot of people go to victims of sexual assault and with all kinds of advice, and trying to tell them how to deal, and ultimately what they really need is people who just listen,
Listen. Yeah.
and sometimes
Listen.
just don't say anything. Just
Just be there.
be
Yeah.
there when
Yeah.
they need them, and they're not going to always need them, and to understand that. So it's really incredible film that, like I said, it has so many amazing performances, and is just beautiful.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend everyone check it out on iTunes right now.
Yes,
Yes.
great movie. I recommend it too. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting Beatrice too. She was so happy and outgoing.
Yeah, well, she's from Houston, right? She grew up in Houston.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
didn't
well,
know that.
she grew up in the Clear Lake area, and her parents still live down there, and so yeah, it's pretty crazy. I have a group of friends that I hang out with. We call ourselves the Mom Squad. Where all moms our kids used to go to school together, and now all of our kids are in college, and the moms still hang out.
Oh,
So we
that's fun.
and so I went to we were all planning to go see this film, and I show up to the theater, and there's probably about 12 of us who get together on a pretty regular basis, and I show up to the theater, and there's this new mom in the group, and I'm like, I don't know her, and so one of my friends introduces her to me, and said, this is my new friend Charo, and I was telling her about your film, The Light of the Moon, and that it's coming out, and she's really interested in it. She wanted you to tell her more. So of course I start telling her how incredible the film is and how wonderful Stephanie Beatrice's performance is. And as I'm talking about Stephanie, she starts getting a little teary-eyed. I'm like, well, okay, I guess she's sentimental about the subject. I'm not really sure what's going on right now, But after a moment, she says, she's my daughter. And I'm like, say,
Oh.
I'm sorry? And she's like, Stephanie Beatrice is my daughter. And I'm like, what? It was like total, like unexpected moment. It was pretty amazing. And, but yeah, as it turned out, a friend of mine, we had a mutual friend and that she had met, and she was telling her about the film, and just completely coincidental. So that's such a Houston story, because Houston, we call it like the largest small town in America, because it does feel like a small town. Everybody kind of knows each other, especially in the film community here. And even though we're the third largest, soon to be the third largest city in North America, it still feels very small town like. And that's a perfect example
It's
of
a small world,
very
huh?
small world. Yes.
Amazing. That is such a nice
Yeah, it was
experience.
fun.
Now, we have a lot of independent filmmakers in the Houston area right now. They're all making their own movies.
Yep.
What is your advice to them?
Keep making your movies. I mean, first and foremost, no one needs anyone's permission anymore to make a movie. You have the resources, you have the tools, you have the ability to learn. There's so many opportunities out there. I mean, even going on YouTube and checking out how-to videos. I mean, there's just so many ways of learning the process of making films. There's so many opportunities to get together with people and just tell stories.
Yes, a lot of
So,
classes up there too.
exactly. So if you're looking for people to collaborate with, there's a number of local film organizations that I would recommend. Obviously I'm partial to Swamp, because I worked for Swamp for 8 years as their program coordinator. My job was to organize film workshops, film screenings, our annual Business of Film conference, and another number other programs targeted to independent filmmakers here in Houston. So if anyone's interested, check out swamp.org. They got a ton of stuff coming up, so check it out. And then beyond that, we have Women in Film and Television here, which I'm also a member of, and they do some wonderful programs and mixers and that kind of thing. And Aurora Picture Show is a really great local film organization where they show largely experimental films, documentaries, that kind of thing. And I always encourage filmmakers, if you're going to be an independent filmmaker, you need to be an independent film watcher. And I'm not just talking about the stuff you see at the Metroplex or over at one of the Cinemarks or whatever. I mean, you need to go to the art house theaters, go to Rice Cinema, go to Museum of Fine Arts Houston, even go to River Oaks. Go to those art house theaters and watch true independent films, and find out. Go to film festivals. Go to South by Southwest, Austin Film Festival. Even here locally, we have the Houston Cinema Arts Festival. Get out and participate and support independent film. Number one, first and foremost, and that's so important.
Yes.
And then you're going to meet people. You're going to learn like what kinds of films are getting recognized, what kinds of films are being
winning the awards
are
too.
being accepted to film
Yeah.
festivals, that kind of thing. And so then you can move forward with your independent filmmaking, journey, being informed and understanding like what the marketplace is looking for and what's drawing people's attentions and what films are selling to the distributors and that type of thing. And that's really, really important to understand going into this, because it's such a, and I tell people this all the time, and I'm not trying to discourage anyone, but I kind of am, is that the marketplace is so saturated with independent feature films that it doesn't need more of the same. It needs more of your unique voice.
Yes.
So be bold in your filmmaking. Be bold in your storytelling. Don't try to emulate what Hollywood's doing. Don't try to emulate what another prominent filmmaker is doing. Find your own voice and your own style and tell your own stories, because nobody else is telling the stories, and that's what's going to set you apart, right?
Yes, definitely.
You know.
Be unique. Be you.
Exactly. And filmmakers think that they have to conform, and and trust me, they will have to conform at some point in their career. Don't get me wrong. That's going to happen. But especially for your first film and when you're getting started out, try to bring something new
I
to the
agree,
marketplace
yeah.
that isn't being done by other people, because that's really what's going to help your film stand out. If you're out there trying to be the next Quentin Tarantino, well, we already have a Quentin Tarantino, and you're not going to be better than him. If you're trying to be the next Robert Rodriguez, well, we already have a Robert Rodriguez. find your what you bring to the marketplace, what you bring to the marketplace is your experiences and your talent and your unique perspective in getting those stories told, right?
Definitely.
So that's what I recommend.
Good advice. Good advice. Thank you,
Of
Michelle.
course.
What are you working on now?
Well, I'm really excited. There's a couple of projects we're working on. We're in development on a feature film, which is a dark teen comedy called The Never List, about a young woman who loses her lifelong best friend, and she's 16 years old, and her lifelong best friend is tragically killed in an accident, and her unconventional way of dealing with that loss in her life. So it's pretty much all I'm ready to say right now about the
Okay,
film.
some drama, huh?
It's some drama, but I don't know, it sounds horrible. It is a dark teen comedy, and so the way she deals with it is actually very very humorous and but poignant. It's not like we're making fun of a tragedy of a girl. We're taking this tragedy of a girl and showing it and making it sort of like the impetus to a young woman's self-discovery and learning about herself, as of what her potential can be, but doing it in a very, like humorous, and poignant way. And so we're developing that right now, and should be filming that this summer.
Wow, sounds very interesting.
Unfortunately, we're not filming it here in Houston. We're filming in
Oh,
Los Angeles.
uh-oh.
So, but it's okay. We're
How do you deal with their traffic? I almost went crazy. I was just there 2 months ago.
well, like Houston doesn't have traffic. Come
Oh
on.
my gosh, I was like, ah.
No, you're right. The LA traffic doesn't hold a candle. I mean, Houston traffic doesn't hold a candle to LA traffic. But you just have to learn how to have some patience in LA when you're driving around. Um, but yeah, no, it's a great film. And then in addition to that, we're actually in production right now on a docu-series called Rock the 36, which is about local former radio DJ Dana Steele. I'm not sure if you remember Dana from the old KLOL Rock 101 days. Yeah, so Dana's legendary radio DJ here in Houston has been around for a number of years, and she's just a powerhouse. She's just unstoppable. This woman's amazing, and I grew up listening to her on the radio, and always like she just seemed to be like this super rad chick, that I always sort of like admired from afar and listening to her on the radio. And years and years later, she just so happened that her son and my son went to the same school, and we met. And I told her what a big fan I was, and she was, told her what I did for a living, and she thought that was very impressive. So we just became fast friends, and not really knowing that this would ever lead to any kind of collaboration, or of any type. But when she decided to, this past year, when she decided to run for U.S. Congress as a Democrat in a very red district, then I thought that was an amazing story. And I asked her if it would be okay for me and my film crew, to follow her around and just capture her story as she's on the campaign trail. And she said, absolutely, why not? And she's running a very unconventional campaign, which I think is exactly the right thing to do. And in this age of Trump in 2018, and everything is sort of askew, it feels like, and I think that being trying to run a traditional campaign may not be the best approach in this day and age. So she's doing it her way, and I think that's fantastic. And this behind the scenes docu-series that we're doing is very much, it's not really necessarily about Dana. It's really the theme of the documentary is about, like, what does it actually take in the year 2018 to run for public office, especially like on a national level. I mean, to me, that just seems so like beyond anything I could imagine trying to do. And here's Dana going, I'm doing it. Like, okay,
Good
well,
for her.
exactly. So part of this documentary is like, what does it actually take to run for office in 20? Like, what is the procedure? What is the process? And is it even realistic to have a grassroots campaign for public office anymore? Is that even something that's realistic, especially when you're campaigning for a national seat in Congress, you know? So like, what is it, you know, what is that journey like, right?
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, and so we're really excited about that project, and we're making some industry partners. We're putting together some industry partners right now to you know, hopefully get that released this summer as well, prior to the 2018 elections.
Good. I'll be looking forward to looking at it. What challenges have you faced being in the industry as a woman?
Challenges I faced, you know, like I alluded to earlier. I mean, I don't really know of any instance where I was, you know, passed over for a job because I'm a woman. But, you know, statistically speaking, I'm at a disadvantage. Just like, you know, if you look at who's actually making films, it's largely white men, right? And they're the ones being given the opportunities, and they're the ones who are largely, you know, given charge to tell the stories, all kinds of stories, even stories about women with female, you know, perspectives. And my response is, why aren't not women being given prioritized in those kinds of films? I mean, why is it that the default is white male? Why can't we sort of broaden the spectrum of perspectives, you know, bring in some women, bring in some persons of color, bring in, you know, all we have so many
Diversity. Yeah.
diversity. Yeah, we have so many different people from so many different backgrounds. I mean, aren't you tired of seeing the same old story told the same old way from the same old perspective?
Yes.
I know I am.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get some diversity. I'm ready to see some new perspectives on stories and new kinds of stories, right?
Definitely.
And so that's honestly a big part of why I bought the distribution company, because I can now take stories that have strong female perspectives, like Light of the Moon. And by the way, Stephanie Beatriz is Latina, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so we were able to take a film that had a really strong story, beautiful performances, lead actress was Latina, and we put it in movie theaters. And we put it on, you know, iTunes and all the various digital platforms and VOD, and it's about to be on Amazon. So we're really proud of the fact that we're able to do that. We want to do more of that. We want to do so much more of that.
Awesome.
And so we're just getting started.
Awesome. Congratulations. I'm so
Of course.
happy you're stepping in. What empowering message would you like to send to other women who are out there trying like you?
Filmmakers or actresses, just in general?
In general.
Just
yeah.
women in general? You know, look, it's our time. Right now is, I mean, it's never before never before have women had a louder voice demanding to be heard. And now's the time to seize your opportunity to get your voice into that mix, and to like I said, bring your perspective. I mean, we are 52% of the ticket sales, box office ticket sales last year were bought by women. Over 60% of the subscribers to Netflix and Hulu are women. We are the audience. Why are we not the ones telling our own stories? Why are we
Good
not the ones
point.
telling
Good
stories to the audience that are buying the tickets and the audience that are subscribing? Right?
True.
So,
Good point.
women, it's your time. Get out there, tell your stories. No excuses. Do it.
Do it. Yeah. I was really happy with Wonder Woman. I forgot the
Right.
lady name, but
Gal Gadot.
yeah,
Or,
the director.
oh yeah. Yes. Right.
And
Patty
I was
Jenkins.
I
Patty
was,
Jenkins.
yeah.
Yes.
She did amazing.
Oh
She
yeah.
did
She's
amazing.
fantastic.
So I was happy to see a woman out there, in Hollywood.
Well, that's a perfect example, because like this film has there, to me, when I was watching the film, the one moment in the film that to me was the biggest like you know yes moment in the film was No Man's Land, the No Man's Land scene where she climbs up those stairs and just walks across and is just, going, and read later that the executives were wanting her to remove that scene, or not to shoot that film the scene. They didn't want to have the scene. And I'm like, that's exactly why we need women executives making decisions, because a woman executive would have never taken that scene out. They would have seen this scene and been like, yes, this is the moment. This is exactly the point when this audience is going to stand up and cheer. And they were right. Patty Jenkins was right. And I'm so glad that she fought for that scene, because, I mean, I just will go watch just that scene. I'm like, show me that scene. And it's amazing. It's like that whole movie just sort of like that moment was just perfect.
Yeah, I'm happy they're making part two. So that's gonna
Oh,
be,
absolutely,
yeah, it's gonna be
absolutely.
nice. Oh my gosh. Well, you give us such an inspiration to all the women here
Of
that we're
course,
trying to make it into the film industry. Thank you so much for coming. I'm
absolutely.
so happy and so honored to have you here.
Likewise. Well, I'm happy and honored that you invited me because I want to see more of this kind of thing. I want to see more media in Houston paying attention to what the local film makers are doing, what and to provide a avenue for them to get their work out there so that the people of Houston can
Yes.
recognize it and hear about it and participate if they want to participate through either working with the filmmakers behind the scenes or just buying tickets to their films. And I mean we need the Houston public to support our local indigenous filmmakers more than ever
Yes.
because we're not really getting any support from our city leaders. We're not getting support by our business leaders. And quite frankly, we're not being given support by the mainstream media here in Houston.
Yes.
And so I think it's wonderful that we have grassroots, you know, shows like this that will open doors to allowing filmmakers like myself and many others uh, a chance to reach an audience here, especially here in Houston.
Yeah, we need everybody to come. We have the resources, we have the talent. I was so happy
Absolutely.
that Queen of the South season three almost left, but Dallas stood up. Dallas went in there. No, no, you're not leaving, and they
That's right.
helped. They
Yeah,
helped
they provide some local incentives to make it you know
make it
viable,
happen.
make it happen. Yeah, to make it viable to stay. Austin has local incentives. Houston has local incentives too, but I don't know of any productions that have been benefited from them so far. So that may just be my lack of information, but I really think Houston has to step it up and be more actively involved in bringing productions here through incentives, local incentives. We have a state incentive that is not competitive. It's not well funded, and so it's incumbent upon the cities to really step up and sort of fill that gap, so that that productions will come to here in Houston.
Yeah, we need
Yeah.
some. Everybody's going to Georgia, and we got people here. We got
hmm
talent here.
A lot of our
Houston should
local,
be.
a lot of our local talent are going to Georgia. A lot of our actors and filmmakers, and a lot of we're losing people. We're losing people to Georgia because we don't have a local effective film incentive program that will address the lack of funding that we have from the state. So we are actually losing our many of our much of our we've already lost much of our infrastructure here in the city of Houston, and we're now losing some of our talent, and it's really sad.
Yeah, it's
It's really
sad.
sad.
Hopefully, it'll change, and our leaders will help us so that we can bring
Yeah,
Hollywood to Houston.
absolutely.
Well, thank you for watching, and see you next time.
Great.
Hey, I think we went.